What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and in today's video I'm going to go over how to increase power output with one tool, and that is a med ball. Let's get right into it. So you heard me talk about in previous videos how to increase power output, what power output is, why it's important for the golf swing, but I'll just reiterate it for you here. Power output is moving either your body or something else through space as fast as you can. And there's no better way to keep power output training simple than just using one tool. And a good tool for that is a med ball. You can get these pretty cheap off of Amazon. This is a 12-pound med ball. You really don't need anything more than a 14 or a 16 because you want to keep the power to weight ratio pretty light, because the heavier the load, the harder it's going to be to move it fast through space. First one is just a simple med ball slam. Almost anybody can do this movement. All I'm trying to do is start it over my head, and then I'm trying to slam it into the ground as hard as I can. Depending on the material of your med ball, don't let it bounce back and hit you in the face. That is a recipe for disaster. The goal is to move it as fast as I can, throw it with intent, and slam it down just like that. Another variation you can do of a slam is a rotational med ball slam, more specific to the golf swing. Try and take it up over my head and then slam it right next to my foot. Again, trying to rotate fast, slam it fast, really try and break the ball. Next one's gonna be what's called a rocket slam, involving my hips a lot more, and I'm actually going to jump into the slam. Jumping's really important because all of my power output comes from my hips, and the faster and more explosive I can use my hips, the more powerful I'm gonna become in all sports, especially golf. Starting at the chest, big jump up, and slam it down as hard as you can. Getting a lot more momentum, a lot more drive into the ground and into the ball, and that's gonna in turn help increase power output. Next one you can do is more for the chest. You can do a chest pass, so hinge those hips, drive that ball into the ground. Again, just trying to go as fast as I can, as hard as I can, keep the fingers down, and really try not to raise up and use my hips. I'm only trying to isolate the chest and the shoulders in that movement. And then another slam movement that you can utilize for rotation is a split stance. So working on a little bit of stability, working on some unilateral stabilization and some unilateral power. I like to go in to out on this movement just because I get a little bit more rotation and a little bit more stability right there. Big rotation, big slam down. So those are your slams, just simple, easy barrier of entry movements to start working on power output. Now, a little bit more advanced movements that you can start working on with the med ball are throws. Throws are really good for moving this weight fast through space. You have a lot more intent with the throw because you're trying to get it to a target or you're trying to get it a particular distance. The first one is just going to be a keg toss. It's going to be a little bit different because I'm throwing the ball back behind me, but it's working on moving that ball fast through space. I'll show you this way first. Start with the ball up over your head. I'm gonna swing it in between my legs, loading the hips, and then I'm going to lean back and throw that ball over my head. Using my hips to throw it, not my shoulders. When the ball goes back, my hips go forward. Starting here, up over the head, load, throw, and that ball should be sailing in that direction. Next throw is going to involve a little bit of a jump. It's going to be a broad jump with a chest pass. I'm not trying to use my chest and my arms to throw this ball. I'm trying to almost channel the ground and my hips and translate that power through the ball. So I'm gonna start with my feet in a jump stance. That means 1 foot apart. Hands are gonna be by my shoulders. I'm gonna load the hips. I'm gonna jump. And I'm gonna throw the ball as far as I can. Stick that landing in a quarter squat. Try not to bottom out, and that ball is gonna soar down the field. Next one's gonna be a little more specific to golf. It's going to be a rotational throw. So I'm gonna get in my golf stance, starting on one side. It's really important that you work both sides with this rotational throw. Getting it by the shoulders. I'm gonna rotate down, and then I'm going to follow through, shoulders and hips facing the target, everything's finishing towards the target. I'm trying to throw this ball almost like I'm trying to throw it over the fence. So I'm gonna load, throw, and then everything finishes that way, working on rotation and still using ground forces to drive through the back foot, into the front foot, rotate around that lead hip, and push it to the other side. Now we're gonna add just another tool. All it is just something to sit on. I'm using this plyo box. You can use a chair, a bench, a couch, whatever you got to sit on. I'm trying to pre-stretch my hips in this bottom position, and I'm trying to explode and throw this ball either out or up. We're gonna do the up variation right now, but if I can rapidly explode from this pre-stretched movement, I'm going to be a lot more powerful when I react fast down into this position and then re-explode in whatever I'm doing. So I'm gonna start here, feet in a jump stance, ball is by my chest, and all I'm trying to do is drive into the ground and jump up and throw that ball up as high as I can, just like that. Again, focusing on the rapid hip extension, because that's where all of my power comes from. Now I'm gonna add an extra step to this. Instead of sitting down, I'm gonna start on top of the box. Starting on top of the box, I'm gonna walk off of the box, absorb force, and then reapply that force into the throw and into the ball. So work on some depth drops first, working on landing in a quarter squat, absorbing that force. You can even add an extra step without the ball. All right, depth drop into a jump, just to kind of practice. And then you can add the ball after that. So kind of like the keg toss, I'm gonna let this ball drop down in between my knees, and then I'm gonna throw it up as high as I can. So depth drop, load, throw up as high as you can, just like that. Now, some other variations of throws can be done into a wall. These are great for if you're limited on space and you can only throw into a wall. You can get a lot more reps in quicker. Just make sure after I get a bunch of reps in, maybe 5 or 10, that I'm resting accordingly afterwards. So I'm not getting adequate rest, I'm not gonna be able to adequately recover, and I'm not gonna be able to execute the movement as quickly and as powerfully. You can do what's called a med ball hip pop into this wall, getting this med ball loaded. I like to get the hand back behind the ball, step in, and then drive it into the wall as hard as you can. Again, rotate fast, throw fast, make sure we're doing it on each side. You can also do a shuffle to a toss, just to add a little bit more momentum, add a little bit more power output, and rotate through a lot harder. So that's another good variation to do. Just make sure we're doing it on both sides. Another one that's good for rotational athletes is just a half kneeling rotational toss into the wall. I like to have my back knee down on the ground so I have a lot more room to rotate back behind me. But I'm just gonna get a double underhand grip on this ball, rotate back, throw it into the wall as hard as I can. Make sure I'm following through with the ball and getting a big rotation and a big twist. It's taking my hips out of play, but it's working on core explosiveness and rotational power from this core. And then if I can work each one separately, they'll both work better together and allow me to get a lot more power output. We're working on some core and a little bit of upper body power output. This is just gonna be a med ball sit up to toss. Even though it's called a sit up to toss, I'm not necessarily using my abs. I'm gonna throw this ball really hard into a sit up motion. So I'm gonna start with this ball back behind me. I'm gonna throw as hard as I can, and the momentum from the throw is gonna pull me into a sit up. Just another really good power output movement that's gonna be super easy to execute and that you can do anywhere as long as you have a ball and a nice solid surface. And this is gonna be our last throwing movement. I saved this one for last because it's arguably the hardest one to do, and it's kind of more impactful on your joints. But this is just a kneeling med ball toss. All right, the goal here is to exclusively use my hips. I'm not using as much of my legs, but I'm gonna start with this ball by my shoulders. I'm gonna rock back, touch my butt cheeks to my heels, and then using my hips and my arms to throw that ball almost like a chain reaction all of that energy is being translated to the ball, and the ball is going to go out down the field. All right, guys, that's going to be it for the med ball power output video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you order a med ball, start working on some power output gains, moving weight fast through space, and I promise you that's going to translate into the golf swing. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Comment down below if you want to see any other power output training videos, maybe a different tool, maybe some different exercises. I'll make sure to read those comments and make a video on them. So hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.